let's join the band as we all head for the refreshment stand.
Speaking of hope, hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Concession Stand. I'm Wokey and I'm here with Zen.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, and we're back. I'm actually going to legit release this on Christmas. So for the first time ever, we'll be 100%, like almost no one will see this because everyone will be busy with Christmas stuff. But after you're done, think of it as a nice Christmas gift waiting for you. And we'll be talking about the Christmas movie I wanted to talk about, which is Tokyo Godfathers. And I'll take a quick guess and say almost close to no one knows about this movie. I know I told Zen about it, but it is an anime film.
And most of you told me about it, so.
Yeah. Just to give a quick explanation what it is an anime film. It is about... I'll go into the actual story. It was made by Satoshi Kon. He was a very good director. He's made almost every single anime movie he's made, I think, is on my list of my favorite ones, and he unfortunately died a couple years back before his final film could be completed. But he was in the animation industry for a bunch of stuff. He did Paranoia Agent. He's done Paprika, which is the movie a lot of people will say, hey, Christopher Nolan, did you just kind of take this for Inception? And he will always go, no, I didn't. It's just strangely the same. But he also did, I think he directed one episode of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the first original anime of Part 3.
In the 90s?
Yeah, that version. He worked on one of the episodes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He was a fantastic animator, and it's a shame he's gone, but I will gladly talk about this. He wrote, directed it, did all the things around it, and I will get into the story now. So basically, here's the plot. The story is about three homeless people named Jin, Miyuki, and Hana. It is Christmas Eve, and they find a baby in the dumpster, and it says doesn't say please take care of me, but it says basically whoever left it there said look after the child. They want the other two homeless, which is Miyuki and Jin, want to take it to the police to say like, hey, we found a baby, it's pretty fucked up. And the other one, Hannah, says, no, there's a lot of buildup in the beginning about how Hannah wants to have a baby. Like, this is another thing that's weird that I think kind of gets lost in translation because certain words in Japan, like, mean other things. But Hannah is a trans woman, so she cannot have a baby. But when they're waiting in the food line, Hannah says that if for Christmas, God will give her a baby. And she tells the person waiting in the food line, I'm eating for two, so please give me more rations. And
to be more specific, she specifically says that someone calls her out saying it's not possible, and she counters with, if God can incent Jesus' mother, why not her?
Yeah. This is also, the movie begins with like a whole preaching of Jesus in the beginning of the homeless, because they're homeless, so they're waiting for the food line. And before I guess the food line, you see a Japanese retelling of Jesus, which I did not know.
Basically, the nativity scene.
Yeah. So they get that. They talk about that. They find the baby. Hannah says, let's just take care of it for the day, and then we'll take it to the police. They take care of it. This is where Jin starts to talk about a little bit about his... You start to learn a little bit of the characters. Jin says that he was a former bicycle racer and that he took a bet and he lost the bet because he was found out he was expelled and his wife and his daughter died. Hannah, there's nothing revealed about Hannah. Miyuki, there's something. She says that she could go home at any time, and Jin counters that if the people who say that are the ones that can never go home. So, real fun start to the movie. So they get supplies for the baby. They keep it for the night. Jin is taking care of it because he's the one with most experience with a baby. They wake up and they say Hannah has taken the baby. Both of the baby and them are gone, so they look for him. And Hannah reveals that Hannah just doesn't understand why someone would leave a baby. So she wants to find the parents of it and basically give them a scolding for why they left behind their baby, and they agree because Hannah's being very direct, so they don't go to the police. So they start their adventure trying to look for this baby's mother
So a
and
little
father.
bit of closure for Hannah as well, because she was abandoned as a child.
Hannah was also abandoned, so it just in general, she feels like this is God trying to like give closure to everything. Through this misadventures they start, there's some stuff on a train that they go on. It's a very crowded train. There's a really funny scene before they get on the train where the lady who was feeding Hannah food sees that Hannah now has a baby, and she thinks God has blessed her with a child. And as she's passing, as they're passing by, she says she was eating for two.
Yes.
Which is really funny. They get on the subway. Everyone doesn't like being on them because they smell. Because they're homeless. Obviously, they live in They live in literal trash, and they go through it. While on there, it stops, and Miyuki looks from across. There's a man, and the man looks, and she tries to hide from him, but the man sees it, and now he gets on his phone, and she starts freaking out because everyone is like looking at him weirdly because they smell and they're just weird, and they have a baby, and they're talking about like double homicide, suicide. And so she eventually gets off the train. She loses the baby milk, which is what they bought to feed the baby. And as they're going through, they lose the ability to go by train, so they're trying to walk to their next destination. And Hannah is singing, I believe, The Sound of Music to try and liven up the spirit as they walk. And he said, you shouldn't do that, you're going to get hungry. And hours pass, and Hannah almost passes out because she has sung herself hungry. And so they stop at a funeral. At the funeral, they talk about, like, how the fuck are we going to find baby food at a funeral place? Like, who leaves behind supplies for a baby at a funeral? And lucky for them, they actually do find it. So they find diapers and they find milk just in time, and they consider this a blessing from God. They continue on their path, and I believe at this point they see a car, and they go like, who the hell, what kind of asshole would park it this way? And as they're leaving behind, they see a man is being squished by the car. So they help I also should mention the baby's name is Kyoko. The Hannah names it that because it is a Japanese translation of like pure child. And is like, and Silent Night, something like that. Anyway, so the guy who's being getting run over by his own car because a lady with a dog showed up and basically moved it on top of him, is saved, and he reveals that he was, he's a Yakuza boss. Like, he never says it, but he gives him something, and Jin immediately realizes that this is a Yakuza boss. So he's like, doesn't want to deal with them. But then they ask, because previously they had found a key with the numbers 1225, and they found what could be Kyoko's parents' like pictures and like underwear and stuff. So they're trying to find this one destination, and all they found in there was a Hostess Club card. So using that information, they ask like, hey yo, your last name is similar to the one on the back here. Do you know anything about this girl? He's like, no, but someone I know. The guy who's marrying my daughter does actually know. I actually came to the funeral to ask my dad for like some kind of help. So they go to this wedding where they're going to ask the man about what he knows about her. He tells them everything he knows, but at this point, this is where they also learn the mafia's boss's daughter's name is also Kyoko. So it's like a really like weird coincidence that they were able to get there. At this point, Jin realizes that the person who is marrying the Yakuza boss's daughter is the man who screwed him over with debt. So he gets really angry, and then he starts saying stuff like, if it wasn't for him, I would still be with my wife and daughter. And he starts to let on that maybe that they're not actually dead. But he's also very angrily, and he wants to beat him over the head with not an alcohol bottle. What the hell? It was like a wine bottle?
It was either a wine bottle or a champagne bottle or something like that.
Something like that. Shows you how much I drink. I don't know the difference. So he's about to hit him, but at this exact moment, a Latino hostess takes aim at the Yakuza boss at the same time and opens fire. And the man who was going to get beat over the head with a champagne bottle takes the bullets. The man with the bullets tries to run away. He ends up kidnapping Kyoko and Miyuki, as he tries to like, there's like a disconnect because he only speaks Spanish and the other one only knows Japanese. And this is also hard for us because the version that was subtitled did not translate the Spanish, so I knew every other word he was saying. But it's specifically meant to be like, nobody is supposed to know what's going on, what he's saying. But he's actually being very nice, like, he's kind of being like, I'll take you, like the baby needs food, and she keeps thinking that he's gonna murder her at every given second. But he's actually taking her to some place where he's going, and he's gonna help take care of the baby, but she thinks that she's being sold into like sex work and stuff. Jin and Hana run after them. They are not able to find them, but now Miyuki and Kyuko are with the Latin hitman's wife, and she feeds the baby because she's also pregnant, and then you get a scene of her feeding both babies at the same time, featuring the awesome line of, "Big boobs are awesome."
Yes.
During all that, Jin and Hana are like, they're like beside themselves. They don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. Jin just kind of wants to give up at this point, and Hana says like, we can't give up, and you're being a piece of shit asshole right now. And he says, yeah, so what? And she goes, I hope you go die in a ditch. And they go their separate ways at this point. He's just kind of at a toll booth. There's another good line where he goes to the police, because I think at this point he's very clear, like, we're in over our head. Our friend literally got kidnapped, and so did the baby. We need to go to the police. And Hana just doesn't want to go to the police. He goes to the police and says, I believe Hana, as she leaves him, calls him the king of trash. And so he goes to the police station, and he asks the police officer, I need to throw away some trash. The police officer gives him a basket, and he says, I don't think I can fit in there. And that's the entire scene. So now he's getting very drunk, very sad because Hana told him to go die in a dinner, and he's just basically moping around saying he is the king of trash. And he finds an actual homeless person dying in an alleyway. So he decides to help him because he says that as the man is dying on the floor, he says, before I go, I just have one request, and he points to his champagne bottle. So that they go live, and he goes to take him to where the homeless man lives. And the homeless man, as he's kind of dying, you can see he is very clearly dying. He says, all I ever wanted to do, when I wanted to die, I wanted to be drunk in a good house, and I'm halfway there. And it's funny because he's like in a very shitty house, and he thinks like, oh, if only a good house were to show up right now, I could die gratefully. But the dying old homeless man says thank you for your kindness, and he gives him a bag. And as Jin is leaving, as the man dies in his house, and so he leaves, and as he leaves, he runs into, so I don't know how to explain it, but it's a stuff, if you watch enough Tokyo stuff, you understand that this is apparently a very big problem. It's homeless people, it's like homeless hunters. They just specifically go to homeless camps and just beat the shit out of homeless. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know the scene you're talking about. I didn't know it was like a Japanese epidemic.
Yeah, it's a thing that literally shows up in like a lot of anime and manga. I remember this is also in Gantz and stuff. Like, for some reason, there's like always like homeless dudes getting beat up. It's in the Yakuza games.
Apparently, they're called homeless hunters that rove around in packs and beat homeless.
Yeah, so
sport killings.
Yeah, it's real fucked up. It's one of those things of like, I learned about it from Tokyo Godfathers, and eventually I picked it up in other places, and I was like, holy shit, I did not know that this kind of thing existed. But anyway, he runs into homeless hunters. The homeless hunters beat the shit out of him and the now dead homeless man. They're gonna take something from it, but he fights to keep it, and he fights them in general, and he gets really badly fucked up. At this point, now Hana is still crazy looking for Miyuki and the baby. Miyuki is now like just cool with the Latin woman. They're just kind of talking, and this is where you kind of learn her backstory, because you see family pictures of her. You see that she used to be kind of fat, that she had a cat with angel wings on the back, and her dad was a cop. And they kind of explain what happens, which is that I believe that the cat got let out, and in response she stabbed her father, and then she ran away from home after she stabbed her dad. The dad is still alive. She didn't kill him, but she doesn't want to return home because she thinks that she's going to be arrested by her dad because of the crime she committed. And the person that was on the other side of the train was her dad, who had found her. And she thought that for whatever reason, she's going to get arrested for the crime she has committed. She's really bummed out about it too, as anyone would be. And then Hannah shows up, and then they get reunited. So then they go on their way to continue looking for the father, the parents of the baby. They say, "Where's Jin?" And he goes like, Hannah goes, "I don't care what happens to him." And then at this point, someone walks by and says, "Man, a homeless man died in the gutter. It's real sad that happened." And they automatically assume it's Jin. And so does kind of like people. They do kind of make it seem like what Jin is like literally at death's door walking, but they actually just find the old homeless man. And after like Hannah cries at his body, and once she realizes that it's not him, they kind of say sorry for disturbing your body. But it's okay because they don't know what to do. It's cold, so Hannah decides to call in her adopted mother, and they go hang out with her for a bit. And that's where they find out that Jin is actually also there. And this is where you finally learn a little bit about Hannah, which is that Hannah used to work at it's not a hostess bar, a drag bar. There you go. That's what it's called. She used to work at a drag bar. And she quit to go live with her boyfriend, but then her boyfriend died, and then that's how she kind of ended up homeless. She just decided not to go back to the drag bar because she fucked up a dude for calling him a shit-faced old hag. Is that what it was?
It was something fart. Fart.
A shit-headed old fart. And it's a constant thing because Hannah also gets called that in the beginning. He says, "I'll take the shit, but I won't take the old fart." And literally, like, gets berserker rage.
Had the same reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're all reunited, and so everything's fine, and they're gonna go look for the house. And at this point, they stop by, like, what is it? It's like a pharmacy? Is that the best way of calling it? Miyuki tries to call her dad because she sees in a newspaper that her cat, like her parents are actually trying to look for her, and they're not like angry at her, and she tries calling them, and the dad realizes that she calls, but she's just not she is unable to bring herself to like say anything to him. And so she goes back to them, and they're talking about what should they do next. And as they're leaving, like, this drunk dude is trying to start shit with them because they smell and they're homeless. And he says, like, "You guys suck." And Jen's like, "The fuck you say?" And they start fighting. And then the ambulance breaks through and hits the other side of the pharmacy. It's like literally like it misses them by like just a little bit. And it breaks through the pharmacy. And the ambulance driver comes out and says, "Someone needs to call an ambulance." And Hannah says, this Kyoko is really a blessed baby, and Hannah like faints on the spot from bleeding, and they get taken to a hospital where Jin uses the last of the money. Jin reveals that, yeah, my wife and daughter are actually still alive, and I left them because I ran up a bunch of debts because I was a drunk and I was a bad dad, and so I left them, and that's the end of it. And I've been saving up money because I want to give this to my daughter one day. And he was able to save up 30,000 yen, but then because Hannah got knocked out and they need to pay for the hospital bill, he uses the last of his money to help out his friend because they were not able to pay it otherwise. And at the hospital, that's where he finally meets his daughter, and his actual daughter is named Kyoko, and he gets reunited with them. And then yes, okay, he gets reunited with his daughter, and then shit, give me a sec.
So he reunites his daughter, and then that's when Hannah calls him out on lying about being a racer.
Yeah, that's right. Hannah calls him out and causes a big scene, and so Hannah says, "Okay, let's go, Miyuki," and the baby, and they kind of get separated at this point. And Hannah explains that she was doing it on purpose because if that was really his daughter, then love would accept them anyway. So she wanted to make a big deal so that everything was out in the open. And she tells him her favorite story, which is the story of the red oni and the blue oni. And the idea is that the red oni can't make any friends because it's an oni. But if the blue oni acts like such a dick, that the red oni can come in and save the day. And then it'll be loved by the villagers, but it will cost him the friendship of the blue oni, because the blue oni will then have to leave forever and they can never interact. Otherwise, the village would understand that they just basically got played. And so that was what she was trying to do, is that try and cause such a scene and that make it seem like they're not friends anymore. And that's the basic idea behind it. It was trying to be like a sacrifice, because she knows that, like, that's your family now. You should really hang out with them. Okay. So at this point, they're with the baby, and she's walking by, and it says, like, if I was with the mother, then I would be trying to commit suicide at this point, because the baby is, like, nowhere to be found. And as they're walking by, a woman is about to commit suicide. They stop her, and they realize it is the woman that they've been looking for the entire time. And they have the baby. The woman goes to hug the baby, and then Hannah gives the hardest cold-hearted punch in the entire movie to this woman. Like, literally, like, backhand punch. You hear it, like, real loud, and they start to argue. And she says that it's because of the husband's fault that the baby was taken away from her. And I skipped this entire part where they kind of, like, find where they originally lived. The house is burned down, and they find that they have another apartment. Jin has the actual address to the other apartment, so he decides to go to the apartment. That's where he finds the husband. And the husband basically says, so my wife stole a baby. Because when he was in the hospital, he found out that the baby that they have currently has an APB out on it. So if anyone finds them with the baby, they're going to think 3 homeless people just stole the baby. And that's not the case. So he finds it. He finds the husband. She says, like, she stole it. Like, I don't know what to do at that point. But it's very bad. And he says, like, she said she was going to go do something. And he's like, you're an idiot. She literally just told you that she was going to go kill herself because of what she did. And he goes like, no, I think she's just going to go looking for the baby. He's like, I don't have time for your dumbassness. I got to go find him. He finds his friends. They don't have the baby. He explains the entire situation. And then they all go, oh, fuck, we just gave a Kyoko to an extremely unstable woman who's not even the mother. They go looking for the mother with the baby. They find her, and then starts a giant-ass action chase. They meet up with, like, a taxi driver that they meet halfway into the movie. They do, like, all this crazy-ass stunt shit. They go up to the top of a building. The woman is about to jump and commit suicide holding the baby. And as she's on top of it, this is on the news at this point. Like, people are like, a woman is being chased by 3 homeless dudes. It's all over the news, and the husband of him sees this. He goes to the location where they say they're at. He yells at her to not kill herself because he wants to keep trying again. He's sorry for all the shit he's done. He was able to win money, so in a sense they can start over. She doesn't believe it. She's just, like, so fucking done with everything. So she jumps with the baby. Miyuku stops her. And then at this point, the woman kind of understands what she's done. And she's like, well, at least have the baby, save the baby. They're about to fall down. But then Jin saves them. But then the woman drops the baby. And so then, like an action star, Hannah jumps over the top of the building to catch the baby from falling. But then it fucks up and Hannah falls down. And then she does that one scene in Rush Hour 2 where Jackie Chan holds on to the thing. And it looks like she's about to fall to her death with the baby. But then a large gust of wind comes in at the last second and they're saved. They go to the hospital. Everything's fine. They give the original baby. The people who have their baby back want to make the 3 homeless people their godfathers. They don't care that they're homeless. They save their baby, basically. Everything is looking out pretty fine. They show a quick shot. So inside the red bag that a homeless man gave to Jin as he was dying, it turned out that the lucky lottery numbers were 11111, and the homeless man had that ticket. And so this entire time, Jin has actually had a winning lottery ticket, and they kind of show you that he's had it. And as the movie ends with the cop opening the door saying, these are the people that saved him, and it turns out to be Miyuku's father, and she gets reunited with her father right at the end. And then the movie ends with a large Christmas song about homeless people as the Eiffel Tower kind of dances around for a bit.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that was me trying to explain this movie for 25 minutes. This movie is very, like, a lot of stuff happens in it.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly short movie for the amount of stuff that happens. It's only about an hour and a half.
Yeah, only an hour and a half. I suggest you watch it and then you understand my general, like, trying to explain it. But I've talked enough. Zen, why don't you tell me how you feel about the movie that I told you to watch as I catch my breath?
Okay. This movie is probably the first one where I'm, like, really thankful that we do this show, because I never would have seen this movie otherwise. This movie was absolutely fantastic. I really, really liked it. Every character felt great. Even the ones that were a little bit sillier never really felt like they were characters or poorly made. They were just kind of flamboyant characters. The story was tight. It was neat. I guess in some places it was a little bit too convenient, but I mean, when they find the baby in the beginning, they make a reference. I think Hana is the one that says that she's a gift from God. And so they're going to do this because God trusted the baby to them. And, you know, it's Christmas time. And it kind of keeps, like, all the little conveniences kind of play into that maybe God sort of is helping. When they stumble upon all the diapers and the baby food, when she's falling off the building and a random gust of wind floats her to the ground safely. There's a bunch of kind of, I don't have better examples right now. There's a bunch more in the movie. Oh, when they move out of the way of the ambulance at the last second. When that random guy picks a fight with them and that causes them to walk out of the way of the ambulance that would have killed them if they hadn't moved. There's a lot of little moments like that. The plot was good. It was simple and it was relatively fun. It was, I don't know if fun is the right word because it was a pretty serious topic. But the movie did a really good job of being funny. Like, there were a lot of scenes that I found funny without losing any of its seriousness. Because, you know, you can get mood whiplash in a movie that's kind of framed this way, where at one point Miyuki is pulling a woman off a bridge who's about to kill herself, and then the very next scene is Hana, like, comedically punching the shit out of her with, like, a giant face, like a angry face, and screaming at her.
Oh yeah.
And obviously the way that Hana was drawn and it was interacting like that was meant to be funny, but it was well done humor that's sort of a come down from a tense moment. None of it felt like it was, you know, some kind of shitty Michael Bay movie where, like, something awful will happen and then some character will do some stupid yuck shit right just because. Like, all the comedy was well placed. Like, especially one of my favorite funny scenes is when Miyuki chases the woman who stole the baby to the top of the building. And she's the first one there, and Jin and Hana are chasing after her, and they're, like, comedically fighting their way up the stairs because they're so tired. But, like, they don't seem like they're still not urgent. Like, it doesn't look like they're just being silly. It looks like they're still stressed and trying to get up there, but they're just doing it in a funny way.
Another good thing before that is, as she's leaving the taxi driver crashes off screen. Like, she gets off, like, right to get up to the stairs, and then you hear the car just go, and she just does not give a shit about what happened to that guy at all.
Yep. There's like a lot of moments that they just don't. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in circles, but it's a really well directed movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is that all the scenes play out exactly the way they're supposed to, and they trigger exactly the emotion that's supposed to.
Yeah. Like
when Hana goes back to her mother, when they find Jin injured after the homeless hunters beat him up, she goes back to her adopted mom, who is like I don't even know if adopted mom is the right word, but she's like the bar owner from where she used to do like drag queen shows.
Yeah.
And the mom, right? The mom, like, comedically full body leaps onto her and like monkey grabs her and is crying, but like it's played and drawn and acted funny that way, but it's still like a sweet moment. Nothing feels cheap or stupid or wasteful or anything like that.
Yes, and I will agree with that. I will say you touched on one of the themes. So the main theme of Tokyo Godfather is literally coincidences, where it's supposed to feel like, and this is actually a feeling you get in life when you start to think about, like, so For example, when I think about like how did me and Zen meet, it was because of Wokey. At this exact point, I was listening to a podcast that recommended me Dokkan, and then I got really into Dokkan, and then I went onto a subreddit, and then on that Reddit, I just so happened that you were also on there, and eventually I became a mod, and now those, through like these tiny ass coincidences that just build up over time, we just ended up becoming friends. And that's kind of like what the theme of the movie is that there's a lot of coincidences in the film. Like the name Kyoko keeps popping up a bunch, like characters meet again, and it's kind of like, whoa, what the hell? And they do a real good job of, by the end of it, when that giant gust of wind comes in, you're like, you kind of feel like it could either be the literal hand of God coming in, or it could just be another one of those like coincidences that happen at that exact moment. Like the movie does a very good job of going like, it can feel either other way, it can go any other way, you kind of feel it that way, if that makes sense. But it does build up on a lot of coincidences, and you realize like, oh, they would have never have met that Yakuza boss if they had not been walking. If the fact that the train did not stop and they had to walk, then they would have missed that guy completely. They would never have been able to even get to where they were. So the movie does a very good job of like all the coincidences.
It's not just that the train stopped. It's even more of a coincidence than that, in that the train stopped next to another train that Miyuki's father was on, and Miyuki saw her through the window, and she noticed that he had seen her, so she panicked and jumped out of the train and ran, and they got out to chase after her.
Exactly, and it's coincidences that, funny enough, when a movie plot is built, people go like, well, isn't that like, oh, real lucky that I do that? But it's extremely hard to make a movie that it's like, yeah, no, that's the entire thing. Everything here happens kind of happenstance, and it's like these weird coincidences just keep happening over and over again. But because of the way it's written and because of the way it's directed, you kind of believe into everything in it, and by the end of it, you just kind of accept that, like, yeah, there's a lot of weird shit going on around with this baby. Like, you kind of start to believe that maybe this baby is blessed. Like, the movie ends with the baby kind of going like, yeah, I set this shit up. Like, the movie ends with, like, her cooing at you.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
I think that actually, at one point, they play it like the baby almost says like a line of dialogue that they kind of leave it up to you as if that's in the crazy woman's head or not.
Yes.
Where she's dangling off the side of the building, and Miyuki is holding them up, but she's not strong enough to pull them up. And the woman looks down at the baby, and the baby says, I want to go home.
Yeah, so at that point, it could be like, yeah, man, I forgot. Tokyo Godfather, it's literally, this is why I'm so bummed. I was literally in tears when Satoshi Kon died, because this is a lot of his, like, work. This is him, like, hitting on all cylinders, making a fantastic film. Like, the animation-wise, like, writing-wise, direction-wise, it hits on so many good notes, and it's such a fantastic film that it's a shame that, like, no other... The only thing he didn't do in it was literally the animation. But otherwise, everything else he did, and it's a shame that he's gone, because he only had 4 animated movies in him, but every single one of them is kind of built in this, like, superb way. Like, it's just a different kind of class of what you expect from a movie, let alone one that is also anime.
Right. Like, yeah, and I mean, there was very little action. There was, like, a couple scenes. There's the chase scene. If you want to count the homeless hunter scene, I guess you can. There's not a whole lot. It's more of just meant to be upsetting as opposed to action. But other than really the chase, there's not a ton of action in the movie, but I was completely sucked in, like, the whole time.
Yeah, it's just something about it, just the way it builds up in its mood and everything. It sucks you in, and it tells, like, a very nice, like, Christmas story, even though, like, the movie begins on Christmas Eve and it ends at New Year's. Like, it does kind of tell a Christmas story of sorts, just not one that you would traditionally see, because it is also kind of about family, about, like, what happens when the family, because it's all 3 characters except for Hana, who unfortunately lost her husband, is about, well, even Hana, because Hana keeps pushing people away trying to make them be happy, but never trying to get happiness for herself. But it's about people who like don't believe that they should be happy for whatever reason with their family. Like Jin doesn't think he deserves his family because he's nothing but a drunk and like he gambles all the time. Miyuki thinks that because of her freak out with her cat that she doesn't deserve to be with her family either. And even like it's like one of the saddest scenes is when she actually does try, and it's very clear that her parents want her back and that they're looking for her, but she just cannot bring herself to like even forgive herself in like a tiny bit. So when she's like in the phone booth crying, it's like literally heartbreaking because you just want her to go like, no, it's okay, you can go back with your family, they clearly want you. But she just, for whatever reason in her head, just doesn't believe that she deserves any form of happiness. And it's great. And now you understand why I wanted to see this.
Yeah, it was exceptionally good. It's interesting because each character from the has their own time where they become very invested and very like from the very beginning. Hana is very protective of the baby, sort of for a selfish reason, and then she kind of gets over it and comes to care for the baby on her own. Whereas Miyuki and Jin don't really want anything to do with the baby. They're just like, just give it to the cops. And then Miyuki, who had done nothing but complain for almost the entire movie, is the one who ends up chasing the woman who stole the baby to the top of the roof. She's the first one there.
Yeah. Trying
to talk her off the roof to be the one that saves the baby. And there's the big theme in the beginning where Jin keeps telling her, they're not action movie heroes. They're not going to go out and get themselves killed. Just get the cops involved. And then he literally is an action movie hero chasing a truck on a bike, and then clinging onto the side of the truck when the woman smashes his bike into the wall, and forcing his way into the truck to save the baby as he crashes through the side of a building.
Yeah, as like the woman is like saying to herself, like, it's okay, just stop crying, everything will be fine. And then there's this fucking dude on the side of the truck.
Yeah, like the whole movie he's just been complaining, and he didn't want to deal with it. He specifically keeps saying that he's not an action hero, and then he references when he gets beat up by the kids that he says it again, and then there he is clinging to the side of a car, a big old delivery truck that's flying down the street, and he finally forces his way in right as she smashes it through the side of a building, and he like combat rolls out of it holding the baby.
Mm-hmm. There's also a pretty and speaking of just to get back to like coincidences, when he meets up with his daughter, there's also a very funny scene. So his original story is that his wife and his daughter died, and he was unable to continue doing what he did. And when he finds his daughter, she's being married to the doctor who heals Hannah, and she explains to him, like, he says, like, that dude's old and is like the same age as me. And she goes like, yeah, he used to be married. His wife and daughter died, and then because of an accident, he was unable to like walk or something. And you realize that his daughter has basically is marrying the fake version that he created.
Right? Yeah, it's the exact fake lie that he made is the real wife of the guy that his daughter is marrying.
Yeah, and it's really funny. And yeah, just like I could literally just go on because the animation is fantastic. The look of it is like it's somewhere between like when it's in this like super serious. There's like a lot of scenes where the characters are. It's like treated like an actual movie where the characters' faces are on display, and for those moments they are realistic in a way. But then those same characters next scene will have like big ass heads and be yelling at other people.
Yeah, one moment that really stuck out to me when the style shifted was when they were discussing that the woman stole the baby, and it's a really serious moment. Everyone's drawn normally, and then it's Jin running, and he meets up with Hana and Miyuki, and they run with him to go try to save the baby, and it cuts to him like he's got the cartoon motion blur arms and legs with like puffs of cartoon smoke coming off of his head because he's running really hard, and like he's chasing after a woman that stole a baby and wants to kill herself and the baby, but it can still make him look like Dr. Robotnik running away from Sonic, and it doesn't ruin it.
No, it doesn't. And I don't know. There's a lot of like, it's like you said, like some of the humor is like just picking up on the fact that like it realizes too, like at a certain point, like when they're going up the stairs and they're so busy, at that point these characters have maybe run an entire marathon through Tokyo. Like they are constantly walking everywhere and they're so goddamn tired, but there's like they have to continue going. Like there's no other way to go forward by doing this. And it's really like there's like a lot of good touches. Like there's like when every time Hannah goes to like when they're trying to feed the baby for the first time, like she keeps making like a lot of like grand gestures and saying like, oh, finally the time let me make a haiku, and you can see the baby's like literal little arms like trying to grab for the baby, trying to grab for the bottle, going for it, and then like Jin goes, can you just feed it already? It clearly just wants the damn bottle.
Oh yeah, she's going on this elaborate story, and she won't just give the baby the bottle.
She just won't give it, and it's amazing. Like there's just like a lot of good little touches throughout, and it builds up through the entire story, and it really is like an extremely well-crafted animated movie story. I would put it down as just it's a damn good movie.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
Yeah. And it's also funny because this is one of like, and I don't want to get like too deep into it, obviously, because, you know, obviously a lot of people watch different movies for different reasons. But when people started going around saying like, oh, that new Broly movie is one of the best anime movies out there, I go like, so it does this then, right? You just don't mean it's very prettily animated. It actually tells an entire like engaging story. It does all this, it does all that. And I'll have to see it for myself and see how it is. But this is kind of like my bar. If my bar is basically, this is what I consider good. This is like some of the best of anime films that can be delivered to you. And even then, I think it's like maybe the third best. Either the second best. I want to say of Satoshi Kon's like other animated films, Paprika beats it. But I want to say this is like maybe like number 2 on it. Because maybe number 3. It kind of depends on what you want. Because this is maybe the most lighthearted of his movies. The others are not.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, the others are much rougher. But they also have like their humanity in them, and they have heart, and they're all wonderfully animated, and they're stories that you don't expect to be told through anime.
Yeah, and I think when you start getting into the conversation of best anime movie, you're gonna have a whole lot of people that are like, oh, well, Goku and Broly, and they fight, and it's, you know, I don't think you're gonna get a lot of people who want to have the conversation of like, this is just 3 homeless people taking care of a baby, and that's really all it is. Yeah. There's nothing that happened. You know, that's what it is. There's no magic. There's no monsters. There's no fantasy world. It's 3 homeless dudes that find a baby and they want to make sure the baby's okay.
Yeah. And obviously, and I don't mean to say for anyone who says like that new Broly movie is my favorite anime movie, I'm not coming at you. It's perfectly fine for that to be your favorite. This is a personal me standpoint. Because again, I guess an anime movie can be different to many people. Like to people who only watch anime, what they expect from an anime movie is like what they expect from the TV show, but told in like 2-hour chunks.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Tokyo Godfathers, and that's the Christmas movie that I wanted to see for the year. I'm glad that you'd enjoyed it. Let me be real with you, Zen. If you did not like this movie, this might have been the end of the concession stand.
That's fair. That's fair. Full style recommend to any. I bet a lot of people. This is probably the first movie we've ever done, other than maybe Hausu, where I feel like a lot of people probably haven't seen it. So I would heavily recommend that sometime over the Christmas and New Year holiday season, you guys take an hour and a half out of your day and watch this movie.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth it. Like, this is one of those movies, like, that I actually went out and bought. I was almost, like, if I didn't have work and I needed money, I would have gone to the theater to see it. Because it was playing in a theater near me, and I was like, God damn it, I work. I can't go. I can't take the time off and go actually see this movie in a theater. That's how kind of good it is to me, in my eyes, is like if it was playing anywhere, I just kind of want to support it. Because not a lot of people, I feel, like even of Satoshi Kon's movies, it's mostly Paprika that gets talked about a bunch, and it's never like Tokyo Godfathers. And this is also a good testament that I don't always recommend we watch bad movies.
That's true. This is a very good movie, and it was 100% you.
Yeah.
So
this is the first in Concession Stand history of me recommending a movie that wasn't for goofs. Every other movie I've ever recommended we watch was either very bad or for the funs or Houseu.
Hey, Houseu was not... Well, okay.
Houseu is a different category. That's why I included...
Houseu is an experience. Yeah, you can't really put a label of good or bad on Houseu.
Exactly. You know what's funny is that when I was watching The Grinch, it kind of reminded me of Houseu in parts. Like, what if all these effects were actually a little bit worse and Jim Carrey knew Japanese? It would basically come straight from Houseu.
Yeah, I could see that. I can see that.
Yeah. So, that will be the end of our holiday movies. Hopefully, by next time, we'll figure out. Chances are, it might just be easier for us to not start at Yankee Doodle Dandy till I can find it somewhere. So we might start on another one of the 100 list, and then we'll go from there. We'll play it by ear. How does that sound?
That works for me.
All right. For everyone out there, I hope you all have happy holidays for whatever you got. Remember, whatever family you got, it could literally be cats, it could literally be dogs. There's also a very good scene that we missed out where Jin wants to eat cats, and Miyuki is like literally surrounded by cats, and she goes like hell, you're going to be eating these.
And I think that actually happens.
Like in Japan?
No, in the movie when she yells at him, I think that happens before the reveal that she left home over a cat.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something like that. And then I think also the next scene is the cats eating meat and Jin just looking at them angrily, which is really funny. It's a really good movie. Check it out. Until next time, everyone, we here at the Concession Stand remind you that it's always a good idea to support your local concession stand. You thought I forgot? I didn't.
Bye, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.